We all know Peter Griffin does a lot of highly questionable things that would normally warrant a swift divorce.
Family, I want you to meet my falcon, Xerxes. I'm a falconer now.
And yet for Christmas, I got a wrapped scrambled egg.
But what if we told you the shoe actually fits perfectly on the other foot? Believe it or not, there are plenty of times when Peter should have been the one to pack his bags and serve the papers.
And if I could do it for Joe, I can do it for a whole hospital wing of disabled veterans. Lois Griffin, reporting for duty.
Today, we are breaking down the times Lois proves she's the worst wife. Let's start the show. Kicking things off with Season 9, Episode 5, Baby, You Knock Me Out. What happens when you realize the only way you can cope with your marriage is by physically beating up other women? Well, Lois becomes a champion boxer just to live out her fantasy of punching Peter in the face. Let's break it down. It all starts when Peter and the gang attend a local ladies' boxing match. Peter, being the incredibly supportive husband he is, tries to goad Lois into getting into the ring and fighting one of the girls. At first, Lois absolutely refuses, but with a little bit of annoying prodding from Peter, she finally snaps, hops in the ring, and completely destroys her opponent. The fight promoter is so impressed that he tells Peter that Lois should start boxing competitively.
You know, she could make some serious money as a professional.
Wow, you really think so?
Oh, sure. Women's boxing is a rapidly growing part of the field.
Peter originally plans this whole fancy, romantic dinner just to slowly convince her, but because he has zero patience, he just skips straight to throwing her into a real boxing match. Naturally, Lois is totally against it, until she realizes she can just paste Peter's annoying face onto her opponent. Honestly, I have a feeling this is exactly how she gets through her bedtime activities with Peter too. Lois unleashes all her pent-up marital rage and completely knocks the girl out. She keeps this habit up, winning fight after fight by channeling her deep, burning frustration toward her husband.
Did you know where the Ukraine was because of my globe?
No, I saw it in a book.
You knew because of my globe, you
It definitely gets results, but it's basically putting out a fire with gasoline. Eventually, Lois starts taking some real damage and ends up with a broken nose. This would be the perfect time to hang up the gloves, but Lois refuses. She finally confesses the dark truth to Peter. She loves boxing because all she really wants to do is clock him right in the jaw. Most normal couples would probably see a therapist after a confession like that. But instead of changing his ways or getting out of the toxic relationship, Peter just ignores it and continues to sit on a ticking time bomb.
Peter, she milked your and there were a lot of people I knew there. Now let's go.
Next up on our list is Season 23's Cool Hand Lois. What happens when a neglected wife discovers the absolute magic of personal self-care? Well, she ends up completely abandoning her husband to go on a romantic couples trip with the neighbor instead. Let's get into it. It all starts when Lois tries to plan a sweet, romantic weekend getaway to a cozy bed and breakfast.
Peter, this trip is my one chance to relax and enjoy myself.
But Peter, being the incredibly inattentive husband he usually is, completely shoots the idea down.
Oh, no way I'm doing that. Not after our last romantic vacation.
He acts like spending quality time with the woman he married is some kind of severe allergic reaction. Feeling entirely unsatisfied with her love life, Lois seeks out a solution and gets some highly questionable advice from Meg.
Pick the hottest guy you can think of and go to town. What's stopping you?
Meg basically tells her to stop waiting on Peter and just take matters into her own hands. And surprisingly, Lois actually listens. She begins a brand new journey of self-discovery, fueled entirely by watching old sports footage of Jimmy Connors in his tiny tennis shorts.
Jimmy Connors.
Jimmy Connors.
Hey, whatever gets the job done, right? Deciding to take her new independent lifestyle to the next level, Lois braves the ultimate suburban humiliation ritual, visiting a sketchy adult novelty store.
All right, well, a general heads up, I don't have enough wet floor signs to cover the wet floor, but just assume everywhere is wet.
You know the kind of place where the floors are permanently sticky, and you try to avoid making eye contact with absolutely everyone. But while she's wandering the aisles, she bumps into Bonnie. The two neglected housewives realize they are both in the exact same boat.
I'd love that. You know, all this sexual liberation has just made me feel so open-minded and giving.
So they decide to team up. Lois proudly returns home to announce that she is now officially dating Bonnie, and the two of them head off to that romantic bed and breakfast together. Now, Peter definitely had his chance to be romantic, But having your wife pack her bags to go on a picturesque couples trip with her female best friend is a massive blow to the ego.
Oh, whoa, I never heard nothing about a trip.
Yes, you did, but I'll tell you again, it's that quaint little bed and breakfast off of Route.
Honestly, with everything Peter has put her through, the fact that Lois didn't just hand him divorce papers right then and there is a miracle. Eventually, Lois realizes she's pushing things a little too far and returns home before actually crossing any permanent physical lines with Bonnie.
So, how was it being with Bonnie?
Well,
She assures Peter that she didn't technically cheat,
and to think you almost had a hall pass to sleep with one of your friends. Imagine that!
but let's be real. Emotionally abandoning your husband to romance the neighbor's wife brings their marriage dangerously close to the edge.
Oh man, that is hilarious. The trip is off. And did you ever find my minion sock?
Coming in at number 3 on our list is Season 18, Episode 17, Coma Guy. What happens when your husband falls into a deep coma and you are forced to make the ultimate medical decision? Well, Lois decides to pull the plug and then actually gets mad at him when he miraculously wakes up. Let's break it down. The chaos starts when Peter gets into a wild street race with his mortal enemy, the giant chicken. But instead of an epic action movie finale, Peter just gets distracted by a random squirrel and drives his car straight into a tree. Honestly, taking your eyes off the road during a high-speed chase because you saw a rodent is peak Peter Griffin behavior. The crash leaves Peter completely unresponsive in a deep coma.
Just tell me what's wrong with my husband.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Griffin, but your husband is in a coma.
Oh my God!
The family gathers around his hospital bed, trying to share their favorite memories to wake him up.
But it's very important that you speak to Peter. He can hear you. Talk about the good times, what he means to you. Talk, and keep talking.
But the doctor eventually pulls Lois aside to deliver some heavy news. Peter is essentially brain dead, and Lois has to make the impossible choice of whether or not to keep him on life support. Now, this is a massive, heartbreaking burden for any spouse to carry.
I'm afraid it's time for you to make your choice.
What? Are you telling me I should pull the plug?
But Lois seems to weigh the pros and cons surprisingly fast and decides it is time to just pull the plug. But by some absolute miracle, the exact second she unplugs the machine, Peter suddenly snaps awake. You would think Lois would be crying tears of joy, right? Well, not exactly. Peter is understandably furious that his wife just casually tried to end his run on Earth.
You pulled the plug on me?
Peter, it was a very difficult decision.
How could you do that? I'm alive!
He keeps bringing it up.
My family tried to off me in my sleep.
We said we're sorry, all right? We're sorry we pulled the plug.
And shockingly, Lois actually gets annoyed that he is guilt-tripping her. That's when she drops an absolute bombshell.
There, I said it. You know what it's like being married to you? Every day wondering if my husband's gonna die from something
Lois looks Peter dead in the eye and unapologetically admits that she actually would have been completely relieved if he had passed away. She tells him that being married to him is an endless, terrifying nightmare of stress, and losing him would have finally given her some peace and quiet. Wow. Tell us how you really feel, Lois.
Damn right you're gonna make it up to me. I am gonna be more high maintenance than a white woman on vacation. Excuse me, could I get dos margaritas, por favor?
To make matters even worse, Lois decides she is completely tired of Peter holding a grudge over the whole attempted unplugging thing.
So we're done. We're leaving town today.
So, she literally packs up her bags and tries to move the family out of town, somehow flipping the script to make Peter look like the villain of the story.
They're gone. It's all right. I'll be okay. And I definitely won't have any flashbacks of our happy times together to convince me otherwise.
Now, to be fair, Peter definitely puts his family through a lot of unnecessary danger, and they do eventually make up by the end of the episode.
Oh, Peter, what made you change your mind?
I've been thinking. Okay, so you tried to kill me. But maybe that's what a family is, you know?
But honestly, pulling the plug on your husband and then gaslighting him for being mad about it is definitely top-tier toxic wife behavior. Wrapping up our list of Lois's absolute worst wife moments is Season 21, Episode 3, A Wife-Changing Experience. What happens when your neighbor accidentally walks in on you changing? Well, instead of being embarrassed, Lois decides to milk the situation for a massive ego boost, completely ignoring her own husband in the process. Let's break it down. The whole mess starts on Peter and Lois's anniversary. They're doing what married couples do best, having a painfully boring argument over what to eat for dinner.
Hey, so what do you think about dinner?
Oh, God, I'm so tired of thinking about dinner. I don't know.
Lois decides to go change out of her bathing suit, but unfortunately, the room doesn't have a lock.
Ah, Joe, I'm in here!
sorry, I didn't realize.
Joe accidentally wheels right through the door at the exact wrong moment and gets a full, unfiltered view of Lois. Now, what makes this interaction absolutely hilarious is that the shock of seeing Lois actually causes Joe to, well, stand at attention, if you catch my drift. Usually, it takes a whole complicated setup of pulleys and heavy machinery to get Joe going, but Lois just gave him the all-natural experience. And it turns out, Lois was the exact aphrodisiac Joe needed to completely revitalize his and Bonnie's bedroom activities.
It was crazy. I can't even count all the different positions Joe let me carefully arrange his limp body into.
Oh, wow, I'm so happy.
You would think Lois would just be happy for them and move on, but nope. She gets completely addicted to the validation. She starts purposefully putting on a sultry show for Joe, like suggestively scraping dog poop off his shoes, just to keep his engines revving and give herself a massive self-esteem boost.
Wow, look at me, making a difference for those in need.
Meanwhile, Peter is actually trying to be romantic with his wife. He even hides a bottle of vodka in the toilet tank just to get himself in the mood for some intimacy.
Hey, while you're in there, will you sign Meg's permission slip for the historic Slater Mill? I left it at the foot of the toilet between my shoes.
But Lois completely brushes him off because she's way too busy seeking attention outside of her marriage. Eventually, Quagmire spots Lois's highly questionable antics and immediately tells Peter.
I saw Lois strutting around your front yard, basically putting on a sex show for Joe.
But Lois's desperation for attention.
Sorry, Lois, I can't do this to Peter, but please know that you have done a great service for my and Bonnie's life.
Is already spiraling totally out of control. She even starts impersonating a medical nurse just to get eyes on her from a bunch of elderly Korean War veterans.
Lois Griffin, reporting for duty.
I get wanting to feel desirable, but turning your neighbor into your personal confidence booster while totally icing out your husband is wildly toxic.
No, it's my fault too. I've taken us for granted. And it felt so nice to be seen as the person I used to think I was.
Add in all the other times she's completely ignored Peter's boundaries in the bedroom, and it paints a pretty dark picture. Between this and everything else on our list, I think it's safe to say Lois might actually be the real villain of the Griffin family.
6 times that night she screamed, "Zazu Kaizei!"
The end.